and boom. So now this is what we have to work with. This is pretty cool. Hey folks, so I've been looking for the right travel workstation solution for quite some time. And I've experimented with using things like a single external display with my laptop while I'm on the go, as well as even purchasing the Monduo, which is a dual screen monitor that you attach to your laptop. And for me, for the particular laptop that I had, it just didn't work that well since my laptop has a bit of a butt. But I'll touch on that later. So that was some of the drawbacks with using those solutions, and neither one of those just felt right. But then I started looking at this monitor online called the QuadCreate or TriCreate. There's different names for it out there, but it's this triple monitor workstation that doesn't have to be attached directly to your laptop. And that got me pretty excited. There are some disappointing things that I'll touch on that were a little shady when it came to actually purchasing the monitor. So I'll touch on that and also disclose where I actually ended up getting a copy of this monitor from. With that being the case, I will go ahead and unbox this monitor to see what all comes in the box. I wanted to do a review of this monitor because some of the reviews that I saw online were just a little over enthusiastic. I will admit this device doesn't have the greatest amount of specs. When you look at it, even though it has 3 displays, the quality, the resolution of the displays is 1080p, and the brightness only gets up to 300 nits, right? So in terms of content creation, this wouldn't necessarily fit into that flow. But if all I need is something that is going to allow me to look at things like emails, Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoints, and just do my whole EVNG workflow like that, then this should suffice. But I digress. Let's go ahead and get into the unboxing. All right. Okay. Foldable triple monitor. Don't know if they were going for foldable or portable, but hey. All right. So this is what comes in the box. Right here, I can see this seems to be, all right, the user manual. This is what this device looks like. And if we look inside, all right, it's just showing everything that comes with this. You get a few cables that support power delivery, as well as a power brick so that you can power this itself. All right, nice. I will say from what I've seen online, it did seem self-explanatory. Oh, didn't know you could use it in that orientation. So that's pretty interesting if you just wanted one display for a particular occasion. Anyway, I'll look through that a bit later. So I'll toss that to the side. And here we go. So right here, over here on this cutout is the charger brick. Nice. And yeah, set that right there. Below the monitor in the box were some cables. I have a HDMI cable to mini HDMI. Then I have the right angle USB Type-C to another USB-C. And I take it this long white cord that matches the power brick is for the power delivery. So nice. I'll go ahead and clear that out of the way. So because this is quite large, I'm actually going to move the overhead camera to a different position so that we can get a better sense of what this looks like. So with that camera in the new location, let's go ahead and proceed with the unboxing. So I'll go ahead and slide this out here. All right. So I can say this is, in terms of size, all right, it's quite large a little bit, but it is made out of metal. So that's nice. Gives me a little knowing that the build quality is pretty good. And while you can see that currently this screen is exposed, the top screen, the back one is not exposed, so you don't have to worry about the back part being exposed to things like dust or whatnot. But okay, go ahead and set this down and figure out how to prop this thing up. Okay, all right, so pretty simple. I just raised it and that increased the height of it. And all right, so I actually want to increase this to its max height. And let's see, getting a little bit of resistance when I try to pull it forward. So maybe it actually does fold from the back side. I don't know, that seems a little weird. Okay, so figure this out before the day ends. All right. Okay, so it does come up that way, the way I was going initially. All right, nice. This hinge is really, really tight. So I'll move that out of the way, that on the ground. That hinge is really tight. Yeah, all of this seems to be made out of aluminum, which is solid in terms of build quality. Turn that some more and go ahead and open up this screen. Okay. Some nice. All right. So turning that this way, I know the camera view in front currently can't see me that well, but hopefully we have a good shot from the side camera. So I imagine this is a screen protector. Almost want to leave it in place for the time being, but then take it off anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this monitor powered up so we can actually get an idea of what the quality of these monitors look like indoors, how the brightness holds up, and so forth. Actually, I already have a plug that can charge this right here. So it might have helped if I looked at the instructions to see which port to plug this in. Definitely has more ports than I initially anticipated. If I turn this around, I wanna see if there's any indications on the bottom of it. Yeah. Nope, that's not too helpful at all. Hey, just plug it in to these two USB-C ones. See if that makes a difference. Okay, so plugging it into that first one did power on the monitors, which is nice. But now we need to get a monitor to actually, or a laptop rather, to actually test this out. So that being the case, I'll use this laptop right here, which is my work laptop. And I'll go ahead and connect this up. Went ahead and I'm gonna plug it into the second USB-C port here. Let's hopefully pass through the display signal. And let's see, anything happening so far? Yeah, first thing I can say is I do like the build quality. I like how everything's pretty much, I wanna say this is aluminum, but it definitely feels heavy, like a solid metal, which is really nice. All right, because this is taking extremely longer than I initially thought, I'm actually gonna use a different laptop. Would be the laptop that I actually intend on using with this setup to begin with. This is my personal laptop, and here we go. I'll plug in this USB-C port on the back here, and we'll see if we get a signal. So it looks like my system's not recognizing them immediately, so unfortunately, still no change.
5 minutes later.
Hey, that one just started working out of nowhere. And now I have all three displays. So sweet. It's a lot going on right now, but let's see. 4, I don't know where 5 came from. And I think it's tripping to a certain extent. I think maybe it's doubling one of the displays because of the HDMI connection. I'll take that out currently. Yep. So that was the case. So without installing any drivers, after giving it a moment to, I guess initialize or whatnot, it's went ahead and done that. So sweet. Because this is 1080p and I want to maximize the real estate that I have with these monitors, what I will do is I'll scale this I'll change the scale from 150 to 100. I want to be able to get as much as I can on these 1080p screens. Whew, that does make these symbols a lot smaller. Yeah, but I guess to be expected. I don't know, I may also experiment with like 125 because that did get drastically smaller. Not sure I'm feeling that. So let's see, 125. 125 might be the sweet spot. So here we go. Once more, I'm gonna come up here, duplicate a screen, and I'll just paste that onto each of the other ones. Currently, you can see this one is at 150% in terms of scaling the screen to the resolution. And then this one's at 125 and this one's at 100. So, but again, as you can see, it is really, really small when I do it that way. All right, so changing the side monitor to 125 as well as the middle monitor to 125, and boom. So now this is what we have to work with. This is pretty cool. Another cool aspect of this is that these monitors can actually display sound. Server that you can access this device from the GUI from your browser. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. I will say in terms of color accuracy, let me display it on this screen as well. I do notice that there's a color shift between these three monitors that I'm not really digging. I like how this one displays, but the other two aren't calibrated to match this one's color in my opinion. Hopefully that's something that I can fix through the menu system, but yeah, I do think that's worth pointing out. Okay, so whichever one it's on is gonna show the settings for it. All right, so I did increase the brightness on that one, so that looks good. It's a bit more brighter, so nice. Let me see, just by clicking this roundish button a bit more at the bottom here, I can get it to toggle it to different screens. I will go ahead and sort of just gotta fumble around with this to get this to go where you want it to. So this color temp is set up for sRGB. I'm gonna see what the other ones are set for, but let me try to change the brightness. That's the first goal. Change the brightness. All right, nice, boom. So that one's lighter as well. Again, these two look like they're the same color, so I imagine when I go to color space, this one will have a different color space profile. So let's take a look at that now. No, that one also says sRGB. That one says 48, 48, 50. So let's see what the other ones say for that particular specification. 48, 48, 50. Standard, and that's pretty interesting. Yeah. So I don't want this video to run indefinitely, so I will come to a stopping point. All right, yeah. Not entirely sure how to go about changing the color for all of the monitors, but I'm going to go ahead and stop the video right here. All right, folks, well, that does round out the unboxing and first impressions of the TriCreate triple monitor setup, which is so far pretty cool. I will say, I suppose I'll save that in the next video where after using this for a period of time, I'll share how it's been to actually utilize this setup on a day-to-day basis when traveling for work. But so far, this is pretty cool. A really nice, sleek package. I don't have to worry about, running into issues with this notch at the top of my monitor or the butt part that sticks out a bit. So yeah, all in all, so far, pretty cool. Well, folks, I'll leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. One of the things that I did want to touch on was that when I initially went to purchase this product, it was through Kickstarter. And I don't recommend that anybody goes to purchase it off of Kickstarter because the owner of the forum was super unresponsive. I think the last update was back in January and it's already like 3 months past that. So I did cancel my order from where I initially purchased it through Kickstarter. And I was actually able to find this on Alibaba for almost, a little lower than half the price. This was around $350, and that's including shipping, which came pretty quick, within about a week of me purchasing it. So I'll paste a link to, exactly where I got it from, though I have to say, I'm not responsible for any purchases made through that link. I can only speak for my experience. So do purchase if you do at your own discretion. But feel free to let me know down in the description your thoughts regarding seeing this triple monitor setup from TriCreate. Until then, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.